What's up, Math 8? Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Math with Mullins. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 4.8, angles of triangles. We're going to be able to find the interior and exterior angles for the measures of triangles. So let's jump into it. First thing we want to know is interior angles are inside the polygon, where exterior angles are outside the polygon, and they are adjacent, which means right next to the interior ones, okay? The one thing we need to keep in mind is the interior angles of a triangle will always add up to 180 degrees. Go ahead and take time now to fill in your notes real quick. When you're ready to keep going, click play. All right, what we're going to do is find the value of x. So we know that interior angles equal 180 degrees. That's our magic number. So what we're going to do is practice writing some equations. So we know that in letter A, I have x plus 32 plus 48. If I add those together, they should be equal to 180 degrees. First thing I want to do is combine any like terms, which is my 32 and my 48, because they're both constants. So 32 plus 48 is 80. So now I'm going to have x plus 80 is equal to 180. As we go back in time to chapter 2, when we talked about solving equations, we're going to undo the opposite operation. So instead of plus 80, I'm going to minus 80 from both sides, giving me x being 100 degrees. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here for letter B, except now we see a few different things going on. We have x plus 28 and an x and a 90 degrees. So what would be helpful is to write down your equation first, combine like terms, and then solve for x. Our equation should say x plus 28 plus another x plus 90 equals 180. So what I've just done is I've included all three of my angles. I've got my 90 here, I've got my x from this angle, and then I've got my x plus 28 from my top left angle, okay? The first thing I want to do after I've written that equation down is I want to look for any terms that I can combine. The first thing I want to put together are my x's. This is 1x. Remember, we can add the 1 in front, plus another 1x equals 2x. I can also put together my 28 and my 90. 28 plus 90 is 118, and that is now equal to 180. Let's go ahead and draw my line down the equal sign and get started for the finishing up the rest of my solving. First step I'm going to do is undo any adding or subtracting. This is just moving things so that they're on the same team. We talked about when we move things on the same team, we want all my constants to one side, all my variables to the other side. 118 and a negative 118 cancel out. So all that's left is my 2x. And then 180 minus 118 is going to give me 62. The final thing I can do, now that my x's are on one side, my constants are on the other, I need to get x by itself. And the only way I do that is divide by 2, because that 2 is being attached to x with multiplication. X is equal to 31. So that's what we had to do. The hardest thing about this is just remembering to write down your equation and combining like terms. Once you've gotten your equation written down and you combine like terms, it gets a little bit more simple. You go ahead now and take time to pause the video here, try these questions on your own, and when you're ready to go on, click play. All right, number 1 is the more simple one, so let's start there. I know I have x plus 81 plus 25 equals 180. Draw my line down my equal sign and start combining like terms. The first thing I need to combine is my 81 and my 25. I'm going to get 106. So now I have x plus 106 equals 180. Finally, I'm going to take that 106 and subtract it from both sides so that 180 minus 106 will give me 74. So x equals 74. Excuse me. Number 2, I've got a lot going on, so it is really important that I write my equation down. The first thing I have is x minus 35 plus x plus 43 equals 180. Now I'm going to look for things that I can combine. The first thing I can combine are both my x's, which is going to give me 2x. The second thing I can combine is this minus 35, which can mean negative 35, and a positive 43. So let's do negative 35 plus 43, and we're going to get 8. Be very cautious there. Hopefully you recognize that negative in front of the 35. Now I'm going to draw my line down my equal sign and begin to get x by itself. Right now my two numbers are not with the same side, so I'm going to move my 8 to go over here with the other number for 180. I'm going to have 2x left over because those cancel out, is equal to 172. Then I'm going to take my 172 and divide it by 2. So let me pull up a different color here. 172 divided by 2 is going to give me 86. So x is equal to 86. How'd you do? The next piece of information we're going to talk about is the measurement of exterior angles. This letter Z is the exterior angle, and the exterior angle is equal to the sum, meaning adding, of the two non-adjacent, meaning not right next to, interior angles. Here are my non-adjacent, because they're not right next to the letter Z, interior angles. Okay, so that means if I add x plus y together, it will equal the letter Z. One thing I remind my students to do is when you get to this point and you have two non-adjacent interior angles, not right next to the letter Z, you can draw a line to separate them and say that this side of the triangle is equal to this side of the triangle. So that's what we're going to try next on our very next slide. Find the measure of the exterior angle. For letter A, our exterior angle is here, and our interior angles are here. Notice how they're non-adjacent, they're not touching, so you can draw the line, and then we're going to show interior being added together equals outside. So I'm going to say 36 plus 72 is equal to x. All I have to do for this is take 36 and add 72 to it. I'm going to get 108 is equal to x. Okay. For the next one, again, draw your line that separates your exterior from your two non-adjacent interiors. So now I have this, 80 plus a minus 5 equals 2a. This one's a little bit tricky because I have a's on both sides. What I maybe want to do first here on this left-hand side, though, is combine like terms. I have an 80 and a minus 5. Be careful with that minus 5. 80 and minus 5 make 75. So now I have 75 plus a equals 2a. Then I want all my a's together, so I'm going to subtract this letter a over here. And remember, if you need to, you can put a 1 in front of it so that it helps you. I'm going to get 2a minus 1a is just 1a, which is a is equal to 75. Now, this is not my final answer because it says find the measurement of that exterior angle. And right here it says 2a. So that means I'm going to have to plug in 2 the 75 where I see the a. So that's 2a means 2 times 75, which is equal to 150. So 150 degrees is my final answer for letter B, not just 75. Okay. Here are two examples I'd like for you to try. So go ahead and pause the video now. Try these two on your own, and when you're ready to check it, click play. All right, number 3, I'm going to draw my line to separate my interiors from my exterior. I know that my two interiors added together equals my one exterior angle, so 40 plus 30 is equal to y, and 40 plus 30 added together is 70. So my answer for the exterior angle is 70 degrees. Number 4 is a doozy. Let's go ahead and separate. Interior is on this side now, and exterior is still over here by itself. Now, exterior is equal to the interiors being added together. So let's go ahead and set up our equation. 4n minus 20 equals 2n plus 20 plus n. clean up the right side because I got a lot going on. 2n plus n is going to give me 3n plus 20. Remember, n by itself can have that imaginary 1 in front of it, so if you needed to draw it to see it, there it is. And then is equal to, on the other side, I still have 4n minus 20. Notice it doesn't have just the letter by itself, so we are going to have to plug in whatever we get for our variable back into this expression 4n minus 20 to see what the measure of the exterior angle is. Next up, I want to get all my variables to one side. It'd be helpful to move the smallest variable so that you don't end up getting a negative variable. So I get 1n minus 20 equals positive 20. Final step, I'm going to add 20 to both sides. N is equal to 40. Final step here would be to plug in 40 back into that n right here. So I'm going to do 4 times 40 minus 20. 4 times 40 is 160, minus 120 is 140. So the exterior angle measurement is equal to 140 degrees. Okay? This one is a challenge question, and it says the ratio of the interior angle measures of a triangle is 2 to 3 to 5. What are the angle measures? Remember, we don't know what the angle measurements are, but whatever they are, they should add up to be 180 degrees. Take a moment and see if you can think about what each of the interior measures should be if the measurements of the interior angle should be 2 to 3 to 5. One thing to remember about ratios is that they have to have either twice the amount, 3 times the amount, or 5 times the amount since the ratio is 2 to 3 to 5. So I don't know what the variable of x could be, so I could say 1 could be 2x, 1 could be 3x, and 1 could be 5x. Okay? Once I get here, then it's showing me that the ratio is 2 to 3 to 5, meaning x could be a number, but whatever x is going to be 2 times the amount, 3 times the amount, and 5 times the amount to be equal to 180. The next thing I'm going to do is combine all these x's. I'm going to get 10x equals 180, so x is equal to 18. Now, that's not showing me what are the angle measurements. I got to plug in x for all of those, because if you picture your triangle, one's 2x, one's 3x, and one is 5x. So 2 times x is 2 times 18, 3x is 3 times 18, and 5x is 5 times 18. 2 times 18 is 36 degrees, 3 times 18 is 54 degrees, and 5 times 18 is 90 degrees. If I add 36 plus 54 plus 90, I end up getting 180. So these are the angle measurements of 2 to 3 to 5 because they all have the ratio of 2, 3, and 5. One way I prove that is if I take this as maybe like a ratio and I simplify this. What does 36, 54, and 90 have in common? One number I'm thinking right off the bat is 9. If I divide all these by 9, I'm going to get 4 to 6 to 10. And 4, 6, and 10 all have 2 in common. So if I divide all these by 2, like simplifying a fraction, I still get 2, 3, and 5. So this is how I know my ratio is true for 2 to 3 to 5. That will conclude our notes today on 4.8 angles of triangles. Thanks so much for tuning in. If this video helped you at all, please give it a thumbs up and tune back in next.